Hey there, welcome back to Lean in Manila's channel. Joining Frances and I today is Jack from our Lean In community. So ladies, today we will dive into the world of leadership and personal growth. And we have a special guest joining us. She knows a lot about the inner game of leadership and navigating change. We'll be talking to Anda Goseco, and she is an award-winning ICF-PCC credentialed executive coach and team coach with over a decade of experience.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Anda has over 2,000 coaching hours and working with many senior executives and their teams. Her expertise lies in building high performing teams, empowering leaders, and helping organizations thrive even in the face of challenges. With a background in corporate, including marketing, HR, and sales, as well as managing her own business, Anda brings a deep understanding of the business environment and what it takes to be a successful leader. She's also an avid sports enthusiast, equipping her with the skills for fostering winning mindsets, managing setbacks, and cultivating positive habits. So, Anda was named one of the top three best Asia Pacific coaches in 2021 and 2022. She was also honored as one of the top 100 influential Filipino women and top 100 influential Filipinos on LinkedIn, as well as the number one Filipino content creator on the platform. Anda co-founded the awards for the top 30 Filipino leaders on LinkedIn, celebrating resilience and leadership during the pandemic. She's also passionate about giving back to the community, having served as the head of community relations for the International Coach Federation Philippines, providing free coaching to selected communities in need.
We're excited to tap into Anda's wealth of knowledge. So without further ado, let's jump right into our conversation with Miss Anda Goseco. Miss Anda, thank you so much for joining us today. We're thrilled to have you here and learn from your expertise in leadership and change management.
So we're so excited to learn from you today. So maybe to start this interview, like what have you been up to lately, and maybe like aside from what we've mentioned, maybe like share with us what you've been up to, and like what are you doing and how are you helping women all over the world?
Hmm.
Mm.
There's been a common theme among a lot of leaders and women, and especially since the pandemic started, so it's a lot about growth, transformation, looking at yourself as a person, and I like that because there has been a shift into the more personal development, looking at where am I headed, and really being able to live a life with more meaning. And that's something naman that I've been doing for a long time, helping people, because if they're able to define that, and people are aware of who they are and where they want to go or who they want to be, it's like a GPS that helps them navigate through also uncertain times, and it helps them just kind of pave the way to where they want to go. And that, putting that all together, that really leads to leaders being more successful and happier in what they're doing and more fulfilled with their lives. So that has been kind of like my mission also, to bring that to the business and corporate world, where things are so fast. People just focus on doing, doing, doing instead of being and thinking, which I think is very important in the kind of environment that we live in today.
That's interesting what you said about it should be about being instead of doing, because leaders are usually expected to just do, lead, act. But you're right. The what we are is what should be guiding us to what we should be doing. Is this what you meant by inner game of leadership? Like, can you break it down for us what you mean by that? And why is it so important for leaders to pay attention to this?
Yeah, exactly. On point. You're on point with that. That's exactly
Oh,
what I mean by the inner game. And I've been, working with this inner game with leaders for past how many years, since 2010. And because a lot of leaders or people, just focus on doing, and you're stretched, you're doing multiple things. I'm sure you know what I mean, right? So you're experiencing that as well. It's hard to make important choices for yourself, and sometimes we make the wrong choices because there's just overwhelmed with everything that needs to be done. So for me, it's really about being quiet, being more reflective. And I believe in that saying where to be able to go fast, you need to go slow. And when you do that, it's a lot about looking inwards, looking at a lot of inner work, like who am I as a person, what are the things that trigger me, what are my strengths, what are my beliefs. And a lot of the work I do actually in the inner game is and it because that's why it's called inner game. It looks into yourself and maybe the containers that you've created. And I like using the word container because sometimes we don't know we've been carrying these beliefs or these ways of operating that is not helping us anymore. And with the fast changing times, it's important to be able to know, okay, this is where I am now. This is what I'm facing, and maybe there are things that I should stop doing. There are certain things that I'm attached to that I shouldn't be doing anymore. And
Mm,
I really call it like it's breaking free. It's breaking free from that. And when you're able to break free, you're able to see a world of so many possibilities, of so many other things. And I believe all of us have that container that we're stuck in, and that we think that this is the way to go, or we've been pre-programmed to do that. And it kind of starts also with maybe how we grew up, our experiences,
mm,
and the way we're
mm,
picking up certain things. So I really break that down with people, and the more you're aware of that, the more you can name it, the more you understand yourself that way, then the better you are in controlling the environment around you. Inner game, you can hear that a lot actually with sports. So you saw that I did a lot of sports, and I still do. And the inner game really is like, if you're in a game, let's say in tennis, you're playing the game, and
mm,
you're facing an opponent, and there's so many stressors coming your way. So it's being able to just stay calm, stay focused, and be able to think clearly and decide where to go. Because if you get confused, if you get overwhelmed, and then that's going to lead you in the wrong direction. So easier said than done, I mean, it sounds very simple, but when I work with leaders on growth, transformation, and change, and with themselves, it's more complicated than you think, because there's just
mm,
so many factors that are part of that.
Wow, that's really impressive, Miss.
mm,
Since you have this really like a large scope of coaching people, are there any like tricky situations where you had to be challenged? Like, the example, they have a different mindset than you are, or they have a different outlook than you are. Like, there's a little bit of a conflict there. How did you overcome it? How did you manage it?
Okay. So for people who, let's say, are a little bit more challenging, right? So I deal also with a lot of people who have strong personalities or egos. And it kind of goes with also the success, the position. And I kind of shake them, and I'm known for asking tough questions, because if I ask tough questions and the hard questions, those are the questions that make you grow. And sometimes those are the things that you need to sit with to be able to look at your life differently and become better. And so I do ask a lot of tough questions that again go inwards. I look at what where are you now, what's important to you, um, again, where are you going. The key question that I always ask people is who are you becoming, right? And what's important for you. It sounds again like a very simple question, but because we're being pulled in different directions, it's hard to ask that question. So I really focus on what will give you value, what's important for you, and that's where you can actually start prioritizing what you should focus on as a leader. So it's to your question, really, it's about them understanding themselves, them also admitting that, I want to be this way, but I'm presenting myself as something else, and maybe other people think of me differently. Also, I'm having a different impact, and I don't want that. So it's helping shake that and show them that there's a misalignment somewhere. So
Mm.
I love doing that actually with people, finding those misalignments, finding those things that, they thought they're actually doing okay. But if they were able, if they can take that out, it actually helps them focus their energy on the right things. Energy now is so important, because if you don't manage your energy well, it will lead to burnout. So also focusing the right energy and making use of their time in the best way. And that really ultimately leads to making better decisions about themselves. Yeah.
That's great. So so many practical advice already. So in your work, like you've seen a lot of these different leaders like go through different challenges. What are the maybe the top three most effective strategies that you have seen work for these leaders, regardless of the situations that they get into?
Mm. I think the first would be you need to be able to accept the change, right? So a lot of times we wish that it wasn't that way, or we wish that the situation could have been better, and we kind of get stuck with our emotions on that. But I think to be agile is to be able to accept and asking yourself, what do I need to accept about the situation that I can't change? What are the
Mm,
things that I can control and cannot control? So I think that's a very big first step to be able to see the truth in the situation. And once you accept the truth about it, you can actually be more open, more creative. You can think of better ideas. But then if you don't do that, you're just stuck. You know, it's a really a fixed mindset where you can't get out of it and you just go round and round. So that's one thing to be able to accept. And then another one is to be able to be open also to the changes you need to make. And sometimes that's hard, you know, you can be
mm,
stubborn about that. It's difficult because it's like you're facing yourself in the mirror, you know, like with wrinkles and all that, and facing the hard truths about yourself. But to be able to do that and sit with that, I think it takes a lot of courage and bravery and a lot of vulnerability, which is also important because when you're able to see that, then you're able to also see, oh, this is what's causing me to do things in a certain way. So I think it's very important to be able to have that courage to be able to look at yourself that way and to sit with it. The third one would be a lot on I think being able to reflect all the time, being able to be, I've mentioned this earlier and I've mentioned it several times already because I truly believe that this is important. So in the fast-paced world, it's about reflection. So the more you reflect, then you make the right actions, then change happens. But then if
yes.
you're not able to do that, then everything becomes impulsive, everything becomes more of like a knee-jerk reaction. So you
Mm,
have to be able to scan your thoughts. You have to be able to ask yourself the right questions, whether is this the right thing to do at the moment and what will
mm,
really be the impact of this. And a lot of times we're just controlled by our emotions
mm,
in doing in doing the wrong things that are actually not helping us, so that the more it feels, I think you get these negative feelings, or you're stressed or you're overwhelmed or you're upset or something, the more you should not be impulsive, the more you should not be reactive, the more you should step back and think about what would be the best decision for that particular situation.
yeah. It's about having a well-examined life,
Oh yeah,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
Examine life.
yeah, right. Because a lot of people they just let the outside forces or outside expectations steer them into what they should, and then they become unhappy because that's not what they really want, and they don't understand it because they've never really actually thought about what they want. But
Yeah.
anyway, I was going to ask, it just came up when you were talking earlier about how some of these uh, biases we have or challenges we have came from our childhood. So, which reminded me, okay, because Lean In is our support groups for women, right? So, is there a difference in women and men leaders when it comes to their desires, their challenges, and how they respond to your coaching?
That's an interesting question. I'm often asked that question if there's a difference between women and men. For me, like here in Manila, there's a lot of really strong women leaders already, and I think we're also given opportunities to lead in the workplace. And
Mm,
if I were gonna look at the two of them, I mean the two genders, it's just exactly the same, right? So maybe there are like some nuances, like because let's say we're women, there's more of that caring, there's more, you're more sensitive to the emotions, right? So that's the advantage sometimes of being that, but I see also a lot of men having that as well. That's why,
Mm,
like, I guess in the people who I've coached, a lot of them share those common characteristics. But that part also about being caring and sensitive to people can also be a disadvantage, where you need to take out someone, fire someone, but then you're too kind, right? You're not thinking
mm,
about the benefit of the organization, or you're the rest of your team. Or yeah, you're afraid to hurt the emotions, and you have to be able to give direct feedback. So
mm,
sometimes that seems to be surfacing more. But like I said, those are also the strengths of women, as actually, and just also I think the power to be able to read people, put people together, the nurturing part, looking at the growth of people. I think are those are our innate strengths, as women.
What if when it comes to like resistanceness, like they don't really agree with you, or like they have, just like I mentioned earlier, people have different outlooks and perspectives in life, and then how do you like connect that to their organization and make them more resilient? Like of course, um from what I know, to create a good company, it starts from the people that are leading it. And then what if they have a different like outlook, and then it goes down to the organization? So how do you like connect both sides?
Um, Again, I'd use that formula where it starts with what impact do you want to create, right? And
mm,
I believe really some people look bad on the outside, but there's that, like inside there are good people. So in the kind of work I do, it's like peeling off those layers and finding your true self, right? And understanding why am I presenting myself that way, or why is may the impact seen in a negative way. So
mm,
yeah, so from the top leaders I coach, it's really knowing the legacy or the impact that they want to create with people, and just being clear about that, and then also showing them that, look, it's not happening, you're not able
mm,
to do that. I use a lot of stakeholder feedback from the people that they work with, so that it's not only a self-assessment, but it's also an assessment by the people around
yeah,
them, which is important. It gives a bigger view also. um, and I always believe also that the company you work with is like it's like family in a way. It's a relationship, right? If the
mm,
relationship doesn't work, you break up with the relationship. But if relationship is good, you stay because it reflects who you are. So what I also try to do is I look at what the company believes in, the identity of the company. And I try to tie that up with who they are as individuals. So tying up the values, tying up the purpose of the company. We have a conversation about that. So it makes them also think of ways on, as a leader, how do I just create that impact, yeah, not just for myself, but for the team and for the people around me and the organization. And so that, that awareness also, that you're not just working for yourself, but you're also leading in a company, right? And then in the company that you work for. So I think that's so important, your identity as a
mm,
leader.
Yeah,
mm,
I love what you said, no? Kasi if you want to lead people, it's really about influence, no? Like parang trying to influence them by showing them the vision, or showing them the reasons why you're doing the business, no? So but the reality is sometimes like leaders, I know, yeah, they have to like, they feel like they have to put up a front. They don't want to seem that they don't know what they're doing, or they don't want to put it out there that they actually make mistakes as well. They don't want to be vulnerable. So for those leaders that you coach, who are kind of like this, they don't want to show what's their authentic probably self. Like, how do you deal with those kinds of leaders? How do you help them?
Okay, so maybe I can give you an example so you can, without naming names in the
Yeah.
company, who I was working with this big company, and this person I was helping was a VP, and a lot of people didn't like her because she was aggressive. She would say things to people. People didn't trust her, and the process that I used is again, like who do you want to be? What's your legacy, and what's the impact you want to create? And so that's the first step. But you could see that her walls were still up. So I had to break down those walls and try to help her see like in a helicopter perspective. So if you continue doing this, what would be the impact to you? Like a cost benefit. What would be the benefit to you if you continue this? What would be the cost if you did this? So a lot of times when people do certain things, it's very narrowed down to, the details and nitty gritty. But sometimes you just have to take a step back and look at, well, what am I doing and where am I going? And this is really the impact that I want. So we went through a lot of that, the value of really looking at the cost benefit and looking at their lives. And so this person I was helping with, so I was saying that a lot of people didn't like her. And so she had to just come down to, okay, I really want this. I mean, I'm very successful as a leader, but I have to be able to also make my people go with me with this, because as we accelerate growth in the company, I need their buy-in also. And a lot of them are not with me on it. And the changes we made together is really, she had to be very humble. She had to be able to change things about herself. But I help people change, but I try to keep who they are at their core, right? So if she was aggressive, that was good, but just all in balance, I think is important. So they learn actually the art of balancing themselves, right? So even if like you have certain strengths, your strengths can also be your weaknesses. So it's about really clearly understanding that what's the disadvantage if I go overboard in being too aggressive, too futuristic, too pushy, it's about how do I just center that and make that in the middle where the outcome is really good. And so after we did that, I usually coach people for 6 to 8 months. What happened was it was a big transformation. So the people around her really liked working with her. They were the ones proactively telling her also, and giving her suggestions, ideas. They were telling her their problems, where before she'd have to like pull it out from them. She was having a hard time. So in the end, she actually became a better decision maker because it changed the way people were responding to her. She became different also as a mom. So she realized that, whoever she was at work, she was also like that at home as well,
Oh,
ruthless. So she said, I'm more at peace, actually. So that's what I mean by, if you help people find their true selves in that way, they become more successful in every aspect of their life. So yeah, so she not only made her even more successful at work because of leading in that way. So she became also more successful as a mom and a
mm,
wife, to be able to be more understanding, to be more sensitive to the people around her, because those are the things that we worked on how she communicated with people. So that was really good. Yeah.
okay, thank you. Okay, I have one more question. So you shared a lot of tips for leaders, and I just want to ask for one more tip, or maybe three more tips, because um, business, actually everything is changing so fast, especially these last few years. For example, AI is now here. The pandemic happened. Like, even me as a mom, I have three boys, and then I don't even ask them anymore, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because I don't even know if the jobs that they want will be there in 5 years time. Okay. So leadership. So as an experienced coach, can you share with us what tips you have, or what do you recommend to leaders for them to successfully navigate change in today's fast-paced business landscape?
Hmm. I think the first question I think leaders need to ask themselves also is, what is my relationship with change?
Ah,
Right.
true.
Yeah, that's very important, because not everyone has the same relationship with change. Like, is change for you difficult? Is something you avoid? You resist it? Is it something you accept right away? And how much do you accept of it? Right. So I think
Yeah.
it's starting from zero, looking at how you see change and being honest enough to be able to see that. And I think maybe the second part would be, if I was resisting something about change, what is that? What is making me resist it?
Mm,
And is it helping me? And if it's not helping me, where is that coming from? And
mm,
what do I need to change, or what do I need to do differently? to be
Yeah.
able to approach it differently. Because, with change, sometimes you feel like you're controlled by it, that you have, like when the pandemic hit, that was a big example of change. So
Mhm.
if you feel like you're more empowered, like, when people started baking and, doing all these businesses, you felt better because
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, okay, change is there, and change is constant, right? In the world we live in now. So just accepting that change is constant makes you also just do more things or think of more things to face that. So yeah, that's the second one, knowing your triggers, knowing what stops you also from accepting the change, right? And if you're leading an organization, it's important to not just think about yourself leading the change as a captain of the ship, but also looking at the people around you. So how are the people around me coping with the change? What kind of support do I need to give them? And what are the what have I had conversations with them, have I checked in with them? And I think having conversations with yourself and with people is very important, because that's
Mhm.
where what to start. There's not much guesswork because you're able to really ground yourself on what people need. And that's why I said conversations with yourself and people, because you also need to understand where you are.
Yeah.
And today and tomorrow and next month is gonna change, right? We don't know. We don't know what it looks like. And sometimes there are certain triggers that make us to respond to change differently. When we think we know ourselves, when we think we know our teams, it just becomes a little different, right? So
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
why for me it's a constant connection, constant conversation, constant in touch with reality and what's really going on, not avoiding that. I think
Mhm.
helps you become a better decision maker, a better planner, a more better strategic thinker if you're able to do that.
I
Thank
like
you
it.
so much,
Yeah. This
Coach.
is such a intelligent conversation,
Yeah.
Ginger.
And now I think like maybe what I got from it, no, I think I'll start like I think what I got from it was like being a leader isn't really just about doing planning, doing planning, doing planning. It's also like spending time with yourself and even like looking at where you are as a person, what your goals are, like trying to breathe and trying to see where you are in this like bigger picture of things, diba? So it's not just about like just implementing stuff or
Yeah.
going for what your investors want you to go,
Yes.
where you want to go. But it's more about also you, like have you grown as a person, like what have you learned from the past mistakes that you've or the past challenges that you've undergone. So it's more that and trying to learn from that so that you can also become a better leader so that you can lead
Mhm.
a better team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
so
me,
yeah.
what I got from Coach Anda was it's not enough to just have knowledge of the business. You should also have knowledge of yourself, knowledge of your people. Like you really need to get to know yourself and your team. And then you should always have empathy and communicate constantly. So what it boils down to is basic leadership is servanthood. Yeah, it's really about serving people. Yeah.
Yes. So thank you
Yan,
so much,
natututunan.
Coach. If our viewers want to get in touch with you, like where can they get hold of you?
You can email me at
Mhm.
coachandagoseko@gmail.com. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you
Mhm.
want to learn more about leadership, about teams, I share my thoughts on that and sometimes experiences with clients. So just look for Anda Goseco on LinkedIn. And I'm also on Facebook. My Facebook is Coach Anda. And I also have a Spotify podcast if you want to listen to that,
Oh,
where I
Oh
talk to
wow.
people from different parts of the world also. So that's Leading Great Workplaces on Spotify. So just search that and you'll be able to find that there.
All right. So we'll put all of the links in the show notes below for people to check out. Again,
yes.
thank you so much, Coach. We hope to
Thank
have you here again
you.
in our show.
Thank
Yes.
you for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.